Okay, good evening, everyone, or a few of you. Welcome to the March 6th meeting of the New London Board of Selectmen. First item on our agenda tonight is public comments on anything that's not on our agenda. Mr. Beasley.
Colin Beasley, resident from the back row. So, Bill, is this your last meeting?
I don't know yet.
What does that mean?
That means that we're still getting our act together for town meeting.
Oh,
If for some reason there's a close election, it could extend for recounts.
well, I'm going to make an assumption that this is your last meeting.
So that's a sign. Yes, if all goes well, it's my last meeting.
Listen, more often than not, you and I have found ourselves on the opposite side of an issue, and I often disagree with your decisions. But that said, I do want to say, and I want to say it publicly, I respect your work ethic. I respect your commitment to do your homework. I have respected your showing up week after week. I have respected your concern for the community and your willingness to sit down and talk through any given issue, though we often agree to disagree. Public service is not easy, and I simply wanted to say thank you for your service and happy retirement.
Thank you very much, Colin. I appreciate that. Thank you. I have, Colin, said to the two of the candidates for selectmen that they have a chore to stand together for 12 hours on Tuesday, okay? And I asked them which one of them was going to have a wife that would bring the coffee and so on. So thank you for that time of companionship 3 years ago. Anybody else? Okay, on we go. Michael, Will, the town moderator and the town clerk are going to talk to us about town meeting planning, and maybe town election planning too, I don't know.
As long as I have my town clerk next to me, we're good to go. We have our administrator, Kim, who I'm with today, talking about some issues relative to town meeting. First of all, we're going to begin setting up this hall on Friday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon. I'm in Concord all day tomorrow at a moderator's workshop. I thought it's good to go review all those things moderators are supposed to do so that I'm on good stead for the town meeting. And then Saturday, probably Friday afternoon, Saturday, we'll start setting up the stage and pulling this room together for the election. Interesting things happening at the election. We're going to be piloting the use of the Voting Works ballot counting device, which is a standalone unit with its own printer for the processing of absentee ballots. And that counting process is going to be supervised by the Secretary of State's office. There'll be some representatives here from the Secretary of State, which will be here to observe our procedures for processing absentee ballots on that machine. And then what happens as a result of that, those ballots get scanned on the stage, and the tally is put into a little remote memory device, which is then put into the other Voting Works ballot counting device, which will be used on the floor over here. And those records are just beamed up and added into the totals. So it's going to make a reconciliation process a lot easier. Secondly, I'm under the impression that we're going to have some additional guests for the reconciliation after the polls close at 7. I'm sorry, I can't remember who's that. Hanover. Town of Hanover is going to have a couple of representatives here because they want to see how we close the polls and how we reconcile the results of the election with these new Voting Works devices. So we will have those guests present for that. And then the third item is we have to audit the results of the election on Thursday. Is that correct? Yep. We're going to review the entire election tabulation results with representatives from the Secretary of State's office and lead them through the whole audit. So it's a lot, it's turning into a 3-day project, 4 days if you count the prep up front.
Michael, you can stop there. Will sent us on a letter from the Secretary of State's office today saying they wanted the selectmen included in this. In what way do we need to be included other than signing the normal tapes on the boxes? In other words, I was wondering, did that mean we had to be around on Thursday?
They have not mentioned that you needed to be there. They just
Just
needed,
wanted to inform us.
yeah, I think maybe what they were talking about was they wanted that document that I forwarded to you
Yes.
today to go to you, so it did. But
But
as
for-
far as I've heard from them, that's
no
the
purpose
extent
other than
of your
information.
involvement. Right.
We're not adding another event to our lives.
Not of my understanding at this point. How's that for a politician answer?
Good, thank you.
I would take this opportunity to thank our town clerk, Will, for spearheading the purchase of the voting works, the poll pads to check in the voters, which has greatly streamlined that process. And then secondly, his willingness to look forward to the voting works machines, to utilize them, A, for the regular election, and then B, to get the Secretary of State up here to watch us do the absentee ballots. I think that's really great. I'm really happy that we're doing that because it makes our job a lot easier and it makes the results a lot more accurate, I think. Okay, so that's the only thing I can think of with respect to the elections. I've given a diagram to the Public Works Department. They're going to be up here tomorrow morning setting up our booths. I think we're going to have 20 booths for the town elections, local elections. It's one booth for every 200 voters. So we'll have 4 lines of 5, that's 20, plus the sit-down stations, the handicap access one, plus our new system over here. We should be fine. By the way, I'm going to mention that. They call that thing the...
We're going to call it the accessible voting system.
Accessible voting system.
I'm not a fan of the VX Mark name.
Yeah, really. We had a chance to try this thing out at the town offices. We tested all of the voting works ballot counting devices, both the portable scanner that we'll use for the absentee ballots and the wheeled out machine that captures the ballots in the bottom. We had a chance to use both of those machines and test them by feeding the ballots in 4 different directions and then comparing the results. That was a very useful device. It gave us a chance hands-on these machines before the election day, which is great. And we also had a chance to try the new accessible voting machine, which is fully self-contained. It has headphones, and it's really easy to use. And I'm going to try to encourage as many of my election poll workers as possible to vote using that machine. It really is it's head over heels difference from the previous one we had, and it's all self-contained. Whoever thought this up, I guess the guy kept mentioning San Jose. I guess they did this in California?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, in California first. So they've worked out a lot of the bugs, and it's really a pretty state-of-the-art thing. It's really pretty cool. We're lucky to have it, and I think I'm going to try to encourage as many people as I can to vote using it of our team. Okay, that's all I can think of with respect to the election. Oh, the only other thing is these new voting works scan the ballots and make an image of every ballot. And it also has been programmed to separate out those ballots that require adjudication, primarily for write-ins and other anomalies, okay? And it won't let you decide what the vote was on those ballots until the polls close at 7 p.m. And at that time, we, quote, adjudicate those ballots by the program pops the ballot up with the questionable race, and it shows you an image of what was on that ballot. And we get to adjudicate what that is. We either enter the name or we make the other decision with respect to the ballot. Now, the cool thing about this is you take a patch cord and you plug it into that mess over there, and you can see the adjudication going on these screens. So those people here after 7 p.m. that want to watch us adjudicate these write-in ballots can just do so by looking at the screen, and it'll see what the ballot said, and it shows what we decide to do with each ballot that's questionable. That, in addition to the roped-off areas that we will have with the counting teams to process the hand count ballots that are slid in the side of the machine. Those are the ones that get kicked out, the overvotes or whatever, where the voter elects not to have me void the ballot and put in another one. It just goes in the hand count. Those have to be counted by hand, and that process will also be taking place at 7 p.m. And we're only allowed we'll have to roll up all the UOCAVA ballots and the federal office-only ballots, and these hand count ballots all have to be rolled up onto a single adjustment total, which we enter on that computerized schedule that includes the upload of the absentees. So instead of having multiple layers that roll up on the computer, there's only one line for adjustment, and the only audit trail we have to provide is how do we get to that single line, which is more simplified than it was before. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Any questions on the election on Tuesday? Yeah, John.
John, I'm sorry. Oh, that's the recording. That's right.
Thank you. Are the results able to be known before the audit? Okay, okay, thank you.
No, we won't have to wait for the audit to get the results. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Michael?
Yes.
How do people sign up to speak at town meeting?
Oh, we're going to launch into that. Well, before we launch into that, we're going to get to that in just a minute.
Okay.
First up, we had to take some measurements of the gymnasium and produce a diagram that will enable us to get as many chairs in the hall as possible and still be compliant with the valleyways as required by the fire department. So I submitted this scale drawing to them, and they approved it. They're okay with the setup. The only difference is we're going to be using the bleachers, which gives us another 325 seats possible. And on the floor, we will have, depending on how we do this, probably 728 chairs. And they will be divided into 8 sectors. And the reason we divide them into 8 sectors is so that we can have 8 ballot clerks to count the respective sectors in the event that we do a cards-only count. And each of those ballot clerks will only have to count that one sector, and we've reduced it so the sectors will be 7 rows and 13 chairs across. Each sector is going to be that size. So I'll have to be down there on Wednesday afternoon to make sure that the chairs are all laid out. This is going to be very closely choreographed because they have gymnasium classes in there until 2:56 or something, and then those guys leave, and then the rubber mats get rolled out, and at that moment the chairs arrive on these dollies, and we move them around, and we have to start setting them up. So we only have that like 2.5, 3 hours to get everything ready by 6 p.m. And the goal for this meeting, of course, people arriving will have to check in at the entrance to the professional education area, which is at the far west end of the building. And so all the people must check in there and then walk the full length. Actually, they enter the building at that location, they walk down the corridor that leads to the gymnasium, and we will have an area utilizing the old library to check the voters in. There's plenty of tables in there, and so the voters will come down the hallway and then just turn right, go through the library, get checked in, come back out, and keep going. Yeah, there's an indoor and outdoor in that library. Thank you, BB. There's 2 doors for that. So it'll be as streamlined as possible, and the goal, of course, is to keep, we got a lot of people through that hallway and into the meeting area as efficiently as possible. Got to keep them moving. That's our goal. And we will also have wheelchairs available because it is a long walk. If anyone needs wheelchairs, we're going to get them from COA. We've checked to make sure they'll fit through that bottleneck and down the ramp and the stairs. So we've checked to make sure they'll all go through. There's plenty of clearance to get them through there. And the goal, of course, is to get them moving, get everybody checked in so that we're ready to go at 6 o'clock. And of course, as you know as well as I do, the major item on the warrant is Article 3. Kim and I spent a lot of time talking about it today, and I'm sure I'll bring it up tomorrow at the moderator's workshop. I don't have any preconceived idea about how the discussion is going to proceed. I think the mantra courtesy of Alf Jacobson is a good one. Robust discussion, robust debate is what we're after. Courteous, but robust debate. Whether or not there wants to be a time limit is entirely up to the voters. We have to understand that This business meeting belongs to them. It's their meeting. I'm not about to set a time limit. Whether or not a time limit is set on each speaker is up to them, up to the meeting. If they want to do it, they can do it. We'll do our best to enforce it if they want to. If not, if we have no speaker limit, people can speak as long as they want. It'll be up to the voters whether or not they want me to try to impose and enforce a time limit. I'm not about to do it up front. I'm getting lots of emails and lots of, shall we say, friendly advice about how this should be carried out. And I appreciate that, I do. But I'm not about to state here whether we should adopt a time limit. It'll be up to the voters. It's their meeting.
But do they have to let you know ahead of time that they want to speak, or should they just go up to the mic and stand there
Well,
and wait?
there's a couple of ways to do that. Obviously, the proponents of each article will get to speak. The ones who introduce it will speak first. And following that, if speakers really want to be heard and they can get their name to me beforehand, that's great. I will make sure they're heard. Otherwise, the way we're going to determine that people want to be heard is if they rise up on their hind legs and move toward the microphone. And as long as there's people at the microphone willing and ready to be heard, we will probably allow the debate to continue. However, I have to also say, if folks are coming to the microphone and restating the same point of view over and over, they risk the moderator asking them to if they have anything new and different and to move on, or simply say, I agree with Speaker Kidder, or I agree with, that lets the populace know that there's certain numbers of people that support the positions previously advanced without having to repeat them in entirety, in the interest of economics of time. It could be a very long meeting, but I think there's a lot of points that want to be made. This is the feedback I'm getting, and I don't want to discourage that. I want that robust debate. I don't want to have Alp Jacobson looking down on me and saying, good. Robust debate, that's what we want. Some people used to say that, he'd let debate go on and on and on and on. Well, in between is a happy medium where everyone can be heard and before the vote is taken. So that's the only points I have. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, I do want to ask a question. Come on up and identify yourself and for the record. And
Rich Epstein, resident. So if they vote to have a time limit, if they vote to have a time limit, how is that amount of time determined?
Well, my trusty clerk here will have a stopwatch. The one who wants to impose a time limit will say, Mr. Moderator, I move that we limit debate to 3 minutes. That motion has to be seconded. That motion is then voted on by the meeting attendees by simple majority. If they adopt it, then the speaking limit is set at 3 minutes, and every time a speaker approaches the microphone and identifies himself, the clock begins. And at the end of their 3 minutes, and I haven't figured out whether I'm going to raise a flag or whatever when you're getting close, but that will be it. If people don't want the 3 minutes, so they want 4 or whatever, then you either amend the motion or it fails and somebody else gets up and says, I think it ought to be 4. But you can have debate. We'll sort it out. It's the people's meeting. They get to decide how long they want the limit, if they want a limit. Yeah. Any other questions?
Two quick.
Okay, go ahead. Are you guys good? Oh, John, all right.
John Ellis. Are you going to announce this, don't repeat the same comments at the beginning?
Probably.
And then the second part, if someone probably will get up and starts repeating the same, how will you handle that?
Probably I would interrupt them and remind them that this point of view has been stated before, and if they have something different to offer, we're willing to entertain it. But if not, it tends to suggest that we might be wasting valuable time, and I would suggest they move on.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're trying to do this in a courteous manner. We don't want to offend anyone. We just need to keep the debate moving, or it could be a very, very long evening. And that's kind of what we'd like to try to avoid. We're trying to do this efficiently and yet get robust debate. It's a balancing act. Yeah.
Two quick things. You'll enter by car from Pleasant Street only. You can't come in from Main Street. So everybody drive in on Pleasant Street. And also there will be childcare available for up to 40 children.
Wow.
Yeah, this is great. And that childcare will be provided in an adjacent elementary school, is that correct? In the cafeteria portion of the elementary school? Yeah, that's my understanding.
So assume there will be people directing traffic, so is there a plan to sort of fill up the first parking lot first, direct people down? Oh, all
Our
right.
expert's coming, we got this.
Okay,
Emily Cobb, Police Chief. Yes, there is. Though the fire chief and I have worked and we have it planned out so that we will essentially fill up the deepest portion of those parking lots, and then we'll radio to each other as we keep filling those out,
Okay.
so that we'll have a couple essentially choke points leading out there. We want to make sure that all the folks that need handicap accessible parking get in that first parking lot of the PDC. So we'll just have people along that route making sure, especially if they have a handicap placard or a plate,
Right.
make sure that they park in that parking lot right where the PDC is instead of the one way out back, like by the preschool. But we're going to fill all that up, kind of like fair parking or
Right.
festival parking. Fill it all up as much as we can, and we'll just keep backing it out as needed.
are you gonna have, people are gonna be coming from Seamans Road and from Pleasant Street, and you're just gonna sort of, or Gould Road?
Yes, we'll
and
have somebody
Pleasant
at that
Street. So
intersection.
you're gonna be having to go one car or something like
Yep.
that? Okay, because
One at a time.
I know the school has it set up for pickup, and everybody has to come down Gould Road.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's
yeah.
probably too,
But that's why we wanted everyone to come in via Pleasant Street, so
Yep.
that we didn't have people coming in at the PDC entrance,
Right.
crisscrossing.
agreed.
And
So you're gonna put blockades up on that?
yes, yeah, we'll have barricades up.
Okay.
We're gonna try to have somebody at the Cougar Court exit, because a lot of people try to come in
Yeah,
that way
yeah.
on any given day of the week, but certainly
Correct.
this one as well.
Yeah.
So those will be at least with barricades, if not with an actual person at that exit.
Okay.
And then everyone will come in via Pleasant Street.
Yep.
And then at the end of the night, it's just one at a time. Everybody's gotta take their turn, and
It's gonna
everyone
be
will get
like
out. They'll
Leaving
yeah,
Gillette Stadium.
yeah. But we'll have some folks there.
So, and another thought, are you gonna use your signs, a few days
Yes.
ahead of town meeting? Okay,
Yep.
notifying people of this, okay.
Yep. We'll
All
have all
right,
that too.
awesome. Quick question, have you thought, probably not, you're gonna have seating for about 1,000 people in there. We've never had more, but just a thought of, did you think of a need for overflow room? I don't think you didn't need it, but, yeah, okay.
At that point, we call it and try again some other day.
Perfect. And then my other question, are we going to adjust hours for the town clerk's office the day before or day after the election? Make your request now.
The town clerk is thinking about maybe closing at noon on the day of town meeting so that I can be over there. But the problem is that we really can't do a whole lot before 3:30.
Yeah.
But there is plenty of stuff to do. And just, I mean, thank you to Chief Cobb and everybody else that's had anything to do with this, because this has been a monster to deal with, unlike anything we've done before. So it really has taken a lot of coordination from almost everybody we've got. So thank you to everybody that's involved. And I
would there
think
be
we
an-
thought of everything, but I'm sure we haven't.
Right.
And
Would there
bring
be
your
an
bring your patience, and it's a good night to stay and talk late, and let traffic go, and that sort of stuff. So, that's where we're at.
I just didn't know if there would be an issue, because I think the last election, we did have your office closed the day after, because we know how hard you work on the day of the election. So would there be an issue, do you think, of having the office closed maybe on Wednesday, on town meeting day, all day, because you're going to be up late, I'm sure, Tuesday night,
Well, and don't forget the audit on Thursday.
and right? So, I don't know if we have to make any decision on that tonight, if you need us to, but just throwing it out there. That's it.
Thank
Those
you.
are my only questions. Yeah, I'm, We know how hard
Stand
all
by
of you
for
work.
news on that, probably
Okay,
tomorrow.
okay.
Thank you, Chief Cobb, for giving us information about how the traffic is all going to work. I have been focusing on other issues, and I'm glad Will has amassed the team to sort out the grounds issues, because it's major. We're expecting a record turnout, and we want to be ready.
Rich has behind you, he has another comment.
Yep.
Rich Epson, resident, any thoughts to provide transportation for people who need transportation to get to the town meeting?
We have no capacity to do that, unfortunately. If the rec wasn't doing the childcare and all that sort of stuff, we could maybe do the rec bus.
Because isn't it
but-
senior community center, don't they have a bus or something like that?
No, but they used to offer that service, like before COVID, they used to offer services like that all the time. I'm not sure if it's ever really kind of come back since after COVID, but
Yeah, unfortunately, we just don't have the bandwidth, and we're running out. So, I mean, if somebody really gets in trouble, have them call me, and we can try and figure
yeah.
Try the good neighbor policy. Yeah.
carpool.
That's about all I can think of. That's all I have to offer. If no one else has any questions, then I think we should stand down. But
No.
hearing none, then we'll all see you.
Chief,
on-
anything else? No? Okay, thank
then we'll
you
see
both.
On Tuesday to vote, and
Look-
Wednesday at
look-
town meeting.
Look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Or maybe in an hour. Okay, the next thing on our agenda as part of this topic is to take a look at the warrant and go through the rigorous process of deciding which of us is going to present which articles. I think I've had a previous discussion with the two of you, and I believe the two of you are going to tag team on Article 3. Is that correct? We'll come back to Article 3 later in a minute, but in terms of our roles.
Yep.
So that would suggest that by then I should be, my voice should be good, and I could start with Article 4. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
And then thereafter, go, and I think maybe Janet, you were going to be first, so maybe you do Article 5, and then BB do Article 6, and then continue that. Me 7, you 8, Janet, BB 9. I have a reason when we get to the end of this. Me 10, you 11, BB 12, me 13, you 14, and BB 15, and then the same, I'll do 16, you'll do 17, Janet. And I particularly wanted to save 18 for you.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was up 2 or 3 nights figuring that out. But I suspect that you will have something more to say than just reading what's here, right?
Perhaps, yes. Okay, thank you.
Because I think, Janet, it's fair to say BB knows more about the educational stuff than you and I do. Absolutely. She's our world expert on that, and my mailbox has been full even today with stuff from different, I've lost track of which body is which
I know.
we're dealing with.
Yep.
And then hopefully 19 won't be necessary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Kim, any thoughts on that? Does that make sense for you? All righty, that's fairly easy. Any other new business? I don't think so. We'll come back to the other stuff under other business at the end of the night. Get everybody out of here who wants to go over to the other place. Your report, Kim?
I will echo what Michael and Will said about town meeting. It's a huge amount of work, and I think the voters of New London are really lucky to have the group they have between the police chief, fire chief, and all the election people, because it's really a huge thing. We are trying to think of everything to make everybody, both on Tuesday and Wednesday, be able to get to where they need to be, do what they need to do, and get out. So I think we're all very appreciative of all that kind of work. So the other big thing is roads posted. So anybody who's waiting for the delivery of something like stoves, refrigerators, and things like that that might come in a vehicle over 6 tons will not be able to go on the road. Roads are already muddy. I thought it was kind of early this year, but I checked with Sam, and last year it was like within 2 days of today, so, or I guess we did it on yesterday, the 5th. So that means that vehicles over 6 tons cannot go on Class 5 roads, which are town roads. So people who need to deliver things sometimes can call the Public Works Department and sometimes can get a waiver, depending if it's early in the morning and the road's still frozen. But well, we really need to protect our roads because when it's muddy like this and heavy trucks go on it, they do quite a bit of damage. So, and all the other towns in the area are posted, so it's pretty well known to all the delivery folks. The only other thing we have going on is town meeting, so make sure we have everything ready to go. That's what we've been working on, and that's all I have.
Okay, great, fantastic, thank you. And
I will add, we will have a municipal matters coming out tomorrow with the details of what we just talked about tonight and town reports. Hopefully, everybody here has picked theirs up.
thank you
Another
and the
award for
staff
picture.
for
Yes.
our behalf, for particularly you this year, because you didn't have a lot of help for some of the time, and this, I haven't gone through it word for word yet, but it's well done, and the Rennie drawing is really nice. So,
Definitely the artwork makes it, both the front cover and back cover. And all the reports that are in there are done by our nonprofits and department heads, and everybody took all the stops out and really did it. Good job.
And Luna's in it.
And Luna Kidder is in there, yes, yes.
and his bow,
Bo's not a New London dog, so that wouldn't be right. So no, Bo's not in there.
he's right there in the picture with you.
My going away picture. Everybody does get to see my little van in my report. So if you don't usually read the town administrative report, this year you should, because you'll see my van.
And I would just draw to attention for the, I guess mainly for the recording here, but the few of you that are here, that on the first page after the financial statements and before the annual reports of the town officers and boards is a very nice statement of appreciation to Kim for all of her work here, signed by all the town department heads and selectmen, so.
I was really surprised, and that was really so nice. And how you got all those signatures, I have a hard time just getting the 3 of you to sign something, so, yeah. So the person who managed to pull that off has organizational talents, like,
Yeah.
that was Will Kidder. Yep, and I told my mother about it, she almost started crying. And she's insisting on coming to town meeting, but I've told her there's no way she could sit that long. She would love to come. She did come to one town meeting and loved it,
She
so.
did, yeah.
But I will have her come sometime and have lunch with all the department heads, because she really likes them all. She's met many of them, so I really appreciate it. I was really, I didn't even notice it at first, because once I got it, and finally then Will said, "Hey, Kim, there's something in the town report," and I was thinking, oh, God, I messed something up. That's what I thought at first. And I was already on the edge, because it was a rough day anyway. So I just handed the
Which day
report to
was
him, and I
that?
said, "Will, just show me what it is." So thank you very much. I was really the best thing ever. I really appreciate it.
And I would just suggest, since he's not here, that somebody needs to speak to the fire chief about his signature.
Yeah, he's like me. I write my signature big, too. I take over other people, so.
He's the John Hancock of the group, I guess, okay. Any committee meeting reports?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. On Monday, there was a New London Springfield Water Precinct meeting, and Margaret Blank of Underwood Engineering was there. She reviewed their work on the asset management plan. She noted several goals for the future, including staffing, regulatory compliance, replacing lead pipes in the system. Currently, there are fewer than 80 left, which is amazing. It started with 161. And if they don't have an actual documentation, they would have to go to great length to find out whether or not there's lead in the pipe, and also cybersecurity. They reviewed the probability of failure of the assets, like pumps, meters, et cetera. She gave an estimate of replacement costs of current assets. And then it was noted that Maggie Nguyen has been hired full-time in the office. The office will now be open 40 hours a week, and Maggie used to work in the town office in Danbury. They will do some more borings on Colby Point. It might take 10 weeks before they have any data. And they will have to increase the rate for users to pay for full-time office staff and replace Rod Rayout, who has retired after 40 years. The flat fee for usage up to 10,000 gallons will go from $55 to $65. And I have Underwood's report if anybody wants some night reading. Okay?
Okay, anything else? Nope. Okay. No educational meetings, just lots of emails? Okay. On Wednesday, I had the opportunity, as a former trustee of the college, to meet with the new president, Dean McCurdy. And looks like, as much as you can tell from a show and tell, is a wonderful new hire in addition to our community. He's obviously looking forward to getting here on June 1st, and I think the community is glad to have that behind him. Apparently, it was a very successful search in terms of quality and quantity of resumes they had, and there was some nice repartee about the person that's happiest about this is Laura Sykes. Minute meetings, I have not had a chance to review the ones of the 13th of February. I don't know if you all have. Therefore, that's why none of us have read them, right?
Are we going to get an agenda for the meeting, the town meeting? Like, the kids are gonna sing, pledge allegiance, that sort of thing?
I don't think we have an agenda like that. I don't know that Michael puts that
Well, that's what I was
together.
saying to you beforehand. I'm going to talk to Michael about,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd like to know how,
Yeah.
who's going where and when.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bother with that here. But, okay, upcoming meetings, et cetera, down under other business. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a little bit of a work session here to figure out how we're going to handle, manage Article 3 in terms of the rules that the moderator set up and so on. And I think I'd like to suggest to you all, you two, to Kim, that we put a placeholder meeting on the agenda for early next week for any last-minute pre-town meeting stuff that we may not have to use, but for posting purposes, I think it would be helpful to do it. We don't know exactly what we're going to hear on Saturday from the Facilities Committee. We don't know what we're going to hear tonight in terms of candidates and so on. And so I thought, I've been talking to Kim earlier today, it would make sense to do that. Obviously, we'll begin with your schedule, BB, to see if on Monday in particular you have any freedom. Okay,
Fire boards meeting in the afternoon.
great, and I have a family birthday party. So 10:30? Is that too tight for you? Would 11 be better? Okay, could we post a meeting?
I'll post that, and then if we need to cancel it, we'll cancel it.
And it will be in the Crook Room, because this room will be obviously looking like a polling place. And I would say that by Monday morning, we'll ask Kim to let us know if we're going to actually hold the meeting or not. 10:30 Monday morning, Crook Room. But we do need to, it's better to have that and not be concerned about public postings and so on. So, okay, so back to our work session now. BB, are you going to be the one that takes responsibility for sort of lining up proponents for this and getting them in an order and talking to, you started to do that earlier today, talking to the moderator about that and so on? And maybe, I've given both of you some suggestions. I think Janet has given us some suggestions, but somebody
Yep.
needs to be the orchestrator.
I can do that, and I can
Of this.
work with Ashley on that, and Ashley and Annie on that, and, yep, not a problem.
And the
And Chief,
chief?
yep,
Make sure that she's allowed to speak. And that she is part of the,
the order,
well, not that, but part of
or the list,
Michael made the point
Yeah.
that the proponents get the opportunity to present. They're not speakers, as I heard him say. They are allowed to present their case. And so the question is, can the case be presented in multiple voices? Because Janet may have something to say, and you may have something to say, the chief may have something to say, the committee technically, we're the proponents, so theoretically, one of us could read the thing and that would be it. But that doesn't allow us to actually present it, and my sense is that it has multiple voices to it. It has the committee, it has us, it has the chief, and that needs to be
Okay.
understood what that looks like, and when we're done making the proponent's presentation, then people who support that fit into the list as say everybody else who's maybe has a contrary opinion. But I think there's been some confusion in the past. Certainly there was on the article when Ann Bedard, it was last meeting or 2 meetings ago, was a petitioner, and so she started to present it, but then suddenly we were cut off in terms of the ability to finish the story beyond her, original comments. Do you remember that, Chief? Yeah. So maybe I think somebody needs to orchestrate that, and we can't do that by having a meeting every hour to say,
Right.
John or Susie is or isn't going to speak, and so on, right? So somebody's got to organize that. And
Okay.
I hesitate to ask you, except I did.
No problem.
It's probably chairman in waiting practice.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I might run, yes,
Okay.
I can do that.
I mean, I think you could say to me, I think the idea of having Joe Schmo
Right. And
speak is not a good
multiple
one.
voices and as Michael said, not saying the same thing
Over and over
over
again.
again. It's the different views.
Right, there are different views, and certainly on this particular warrant article, there's a need view, there's a cost view, there's a site view, there's a timeline view,
Yep.
there's a neighborhood view,
Yep.
so on and so forth. So, if we were talking about the Bewley property, for example, we would have people from Hilltop might have a very different view of the site than the selectmen do, and so on. Okay, so that's that, and I would say,
So,
one of the things, BB, is if on Monday, if you want to use that meeting to have further discussion with the three of us, that would be one reason to do so.
okay.
But it's just, I don't think we should be multiple crisscrossing and so on, and I think we need to understand what's presenting the case and what's support.
Okay. Perfect. So do you want, Janet, do you want to read the article should be read first?
Well, I think what normally happens is the moderator
Yeah.
asks if the reading of the articles can be dispensed with, right?
Article 2
Okay.
has the meeting
I'm thinking
voting
of the
to.
school district. We read every single
Yeah, right.
article.
So
Okay.
that would happen, and then
Yep.
Article 3, do I hear a motion? And somebody will say, yeah, I do, and somebody will second it, yeah, I
Yep.
do. And then he will
then
turn
we'll
this to Janet, in this case, I think, and say,
Yep.
boom, 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 right?
Okay, so you're going to go first? Yes. Okay,
And then we'll take off from there.
okay, got it. Yep,
But no, we don't in the town have to read the articles.
Yeah.
As exciting as it is to do so.
yes,
So,
okay.
okay. Anything else under other business? And we've got some pay vouchers here, and I'm looking at the clock, and some of us may want to mosey over to the Professional Development Center. And
Okay.
okay, so I'll start signing. We're done, folks. John? Maybe we're not done.
John Wilson, the way the Article 3 is written, it appropriates money for you to spend on two things, the purchase of the property and the later research on it. And I'm saying later research, is there any reason, and you don't have to spend it all, obviously, you can, is there any reason that the sequence has to be what it is? Can you research before you buy? and why?
Well, if I can just chime in. It's written this way, that doesn't mean that's the sequence of how things happen. Just because, if you're thinking because the purchase price comes up and then we say the remainder is to be used for other things, there will be some research done before the selectmen can decide whether or not they will purchase the property, right? They have to do due diligence, there's some investigation, environmental investigations, other things will be done prior to the purchase, which is included in the purchase and sale agreement.
So I think that's a good point to be made. A lot of people are saying, well, why are we buying the property, and then looking into it.
No, no. There will be some, but we need this article to be approved to get access to the funds. But it could be that the article's passed, and then the research that the selectmen do to begin with, either the condition of the land or the title. Again, there's title search. The conservation property we just bought recently took over 3 years to get the title clear. So, you know, once that happens, then the selectmen would say, okay, the conditions are met, and they would purchase the property.
Okay, thank you.
That's good feedback, though, John, thank you.
John, I'll make sure when I introduce it that I go over that point.
Okay. Janet, I'm trying to get them all this time.